Okay, welcome back to part two. It's coming on really nice. I'm very happy with it so far. I could maybe have darkened the hills slightly on top. I still may do that. I'm not quite sure yet. But, I mean, you know, altogether, it's coming on pretty nice. So, there's a reference photograph again. Let's crack on and start all of this here. Right, so, a bit of detail in this, but I'm going to try and simplify it, and I'm going to concentrate then on those lovely flowers, okay? They're kind of the focal point, really, of the scene, the flowers. So I'm just going to keep everything here nice and simple for now, all right? So, firstly, what should we do? I think I'm just going to start with my large stubby brush, okay? And I'm just going to dampen it slightly. I'm then going to take a slightly warm green. I'm just going to go for a warm green, okay? Let's just go for a warm green. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow with some turpentine and a little black, okay? Just a tiny bit of black. I don't want to go too dark with this. And this is dry, okay? That was my my undercoat. It's much easier to work on a dark colour if you're painting a lot of dark. So rather than having a white canvas, so what I'm going to do is just simply put in a very simple impression of kind of grasses and all that kind of stuff. I'm just flicking it with the tip of my stubby brush, okay? You can see my stubby brush is very worn. It's really badly worn, you see? And that's when they're perfect for grass and trees and bushes and all that kind of thing. So it's nice and worn, okay? That's, you know, you can use any kind of a brush, a fan brush even. You could use a fan brush for this if you like. And I'm just aiming to create the impression of a lot of overgrowth, okay? That's what I'm trying to do, really. So this will just help me along and get the initial piece done quicker. That's the only reason I'm using this now, okay? Because we have lots of kind of grasses and all that sort of stuff going on in here. So it's just a nice easy way of getting a lot done, you know, a lot of coverage, that's all. Now I'm going to darken it slightly. I'll take some black, some cadmium yellow, and some phaylo blue, okay? And I just want to kind of darken it here and there as it comes down, because now it is actually quite dark anyway, but I find this a little bit too dark, a bit too cool for me, so I just want to kind of make it slightly richer, a slightly richer dark kind of green. Let's try a little phaylo blue again, and just kind of, you know, so you can say just kind of popping this green in just here, there and everywhere, okay? As I said before, this is just the initial stages. You know, I'm trying to do this in such a way that it's easy for you to understand how I'm doing it. I don't want to be going into huge amounts of detail in this tutorial. You know, I like to kind of keep things simple and easy to follow for a lot of people. Now, let's try something different. Let's try a different kind of a brush. Right, let's try a fan brush, will we? Will we just try a fan brush for a bit of fun and see what happens? Let's, okay, let's dampen the brush, and let's just take some cadmium yellow. Okay, on the tip of that, and a nice bit of turpentine now, that's what will help it really stick nice and well and won't be too kind of thick. Let's try a couple of these kind of guys coming out of the overgrowth, you see. The fan brush is great for this because it gives you lots of different textures and directions. You can do a lot with the fan brush. You know, you'd find it very hard to do this kind of thing now with any other kind of a brush, unless you wanted to go with a small pointy detail brush, but that would take you forever. So the fan brush is great for this and kind of creating different shapes. Now I'm taking Naples yellow, burnt sienna as well, and I just want to pop a bit of warmth into that, you see, and I'm giving them a little bit of a curve. You see, a little bit of a curve is a good thing. Don't be shy. Don't just go straight all the way across like this, because you want this to look very uneven, and in nature it's very uneven anyway. You know, it's not exactly the same all the way across, so it just adds a bit of variety. And look, you can even use the fan brush as well let's take some cadmium yellow. Let's take a hint of phthalo blue and some thinners. The thinners does help it give a more prominent brush stroke, okay? If you use thick paint on its own, you know, it's going to look very, I won't say messy, but it just won't give you the effect you want. Now look, let's try a few of these with the fan brush, here and there. And remember, I'm thinking in the back of my head all the time, I want to keep this nice and simple, okay? So I'll do a couple of these. Now don't worry, I know this is very, very bright, but I'm just popping a few in here and there as I have it on my brush, look. And then I'm going to do the very same with lots of darks. And this is the lovely way now of giving you lots of quick grass if you're doing a field or something like that. So you can see it's only kind of catching some of the hairs on the tip of the brush, you see. Now, how long would that take you to do if you were using a small tiny brush like this? It would take you hours, wouldn't it? That's a nice simple way of doing it. So let's dampen my brush now and clean it. Just give it a quick wipe. And I'm going to do some very rich dark ones. I'll take some black. I'll take some phthalo green. Let's try this one out and see what this is like. And phthalo blue. And that I can see is a very rich, it looks like black now on camera, but it's a very rich, dark, blacky kind of a green. And I might add just a hint of burnt umber in there as well, just so that it's not so cold. Now let me just try some of this here and see what happens. Okay, no, not bad, you see. And you see, I'm bearing in mind, let me just lighten it very slightly. I'm bearing in mind as well that a lot of this is going to be covered by daisies and those red flowers and all sorts of things, okay? I'm keeping that in mind as well. So you don't have to be really too particular about all of this. The main thing to think about is, as it comes down, it gets much darker, okay? That's what I'm keeping in my head. And the reason, you know, I'm kind of thinking a step ahead so that I know if I have a very dark bottom section, those white daisies will really pop. They'll pop right out and you'll see them lovely. Does that make sense? So now I'm going to kind of soften this up into some of those lighter greens here and there, moving the fan brush. Sometimes I'm going up like this, other times I'm going flat like this, okay? And it's just a way of creating lots of variety. And I want to soften the black up into the greens, the lighter greens. So we have a nice kind of a transition then, sort of from light to dark. Now, does that make sense? That's already now a nice, very kind of rough area that we have. So we could now start, you know, adding some detail with the pointy brush, if you like. I have a couple of round brushes here now, just let me show you. Lots of different rounds, okay? Some are kind of very rough, they're not very pointy, others are very pointy, okay? So these will give us lovely effects with some leaves. And I'm thinking I should just zoom in to the painting a little, just to give you a real clear view of what I'm doing. Is that okay? I hope you don't mind. I'm going to go for something like, too much choice. I'll go for, let's say, a nice pointy one to begin with, okay? And I want to just get some nice rich greens in up there. I'm going right into cadmium yellow now, and it's a kind of a green, a light greeny yellow, okay? But lots of cadmium yellow in this, and only a tiny bit of turpentine. Lots of paint on my brush, okay? You can see this, lots of thick paint on my brush. And let's just give it some proper detail. Look, some of these proper kind of grassy things coming up. The little plants, okay? Very spontaneous the way they're kind of popping up, and they're just sort of, you see, little bits of leaves coming out. And I want to do this nice and bright against that dark background, okay? So you can see the very rich dark background we have. And let's create some little pops of colour, okay? Let's go with that, and like there. And, you know, I'm not painting every individual little detail. It's just to give you impressions, that's all. I just want to give an impression of some nice bright coloured leaves and foliage and all that kind of stuff, you see. And I'll come down here, I'll do a couple like that. I don't even know what kind of plants they are. It's just very loose brushwork, okay? Just putting little bits here and bits there. And you could even give a couple of little flicks as well. Okay, like that. You can do with this what you like, okay? Any way you like. If you want to do something completely different, please do feel free to do that. You know, you don't need to copy my painting exactly. You can put in blue flowers if you like, or you know, pink, or you know, yellow. As long as you have fun, that's the most important part of painting for me. You know, I have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's just really, it's not very good if you don't enjoy it, okay? And what I'm doing here now is, I'm going into the darks, okay, with the bright colour, but then it's mixing with the black, creating different greens. And I'm also pulling the black up as well, giving that some grass effects as well, you see. Does that make sense? You know, I'm just keeping it lovely and simple. Very, very simple. Now I'm going to go into my very dark colour, okay, with lots of turpentine. That very blacky colour that I mixed earlier, very blacky green. Let's pop a couple of dark grasses in there, because there's lots in the shade as well. So a couple like that, and we could do a couple of little dabs like that here and there. Just remember, keep it simple and be aware that a lot of this will be covered anyway, okay? Lots of this will be covered. Pop a couple in up there just to give the impression of some darker plants, darker leaves. Just a couple of little tiny flicks here and there, look. So I'm just varying. I'm varying everything. I don't want to kind of do it in sections or clumps. Try to kind of, if you can, try to dance around on your canvas very randomly here and there, okay? Because if you focus too much on one area, you'll end up at one area with lots of clumps and everything else not. So, you know, just kind of, yeah, we see, just kind of dance around. Now, clean the brush, and okay, I feel like going into some burnt sienna. Okay, turpentine, burnt sienna. Let's pop a couple of nice warm ones in here and there, okay? Again, they're only just little clumps of plants and flowers, and there could be stalks, all that kind of thing. But you'll notice I'm not putting too much in one area. I'm spreading it out. And that subtle little bit of sienna, you can see it just really just draws your eye in, doesn't it? So, I'm not going to go too warm because I want to allow for the red, you see. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go and put lots of dark first down in here, okay? I'm just going to go in with some black, just black on its own, and I'm going to just start popping in lots of dark, kind of grassy effects here and there, especially down in the corner, because remember, I'm still thinking that we have lots of white daisies and kind of pinkish daisies here and there. So I want this really, really dark down here, all right? I don't want to show too much bright yellow down on the bottom. I really want this very, very black, a very, very dark, blacky kind of a green. There we go. I might take some burnt umber as well. Let's try a little burnt umber. Give this some nice rich burnt umber. You will find that it's more difficult to paint wet onto wet. You could use a palette knife for this if you want, and just put on lots of thick paint with your palette knife. That would be quite nice. But I don't like putting on too much thick paint, because if we put on too much thick paint on this, it's going to be very difficult for us then to paint our daisies. Okay? Now you can see that's not bad so far, is it? We could pop one or two nice rich green leaves in here and there, just to just to show that there are some little bits of light catching some of them. Okay, now how's that coming on? And I'm going to put one or two, maybe even just with burnt umber, up here. Look, just like that. Maybe even just some of that dark green. I'll take some burnt umber and I'm going to put a few long grasses coming out up on top here, okay? Just to break that up slightly. And I will take a little bit of burnt umber again and maybe just pop a little bit of dark on some of those. My next step is that bright, lovely, rich colour red. That's a beautiful, beautiful colour. So I'm going to take another brush. Let me see. I'll go for, this is not very pointy, okay, this brush. And for this, I'm just going to go with cadmium red, okay? I think I'll just go straight into cadmium red with this. No thinners, because that will make it stick wonderfully. And they're just little clumps of flower, look, little dabs of paint is all there. And it seems to be kind of coming down at this, it's this way, kind of in a group, don't they? Again, there will be some smaller ones and you might have some bigger ones, okay, some bigger clumps like that. And you can't really see what kind of flowers they are. All you can see is that they are little blotches of nice rich red colour. You see? That's all. You could make some more prominent ones here and there. So, for example, down here, I can see there's a nice indication of what type of flowers they are. Okay? So they're coming out like that. You probably know better than me what kind of flowers these are. Do tell me if you know. Put another one or two like this. Okay, and make this a little thicker up here. You must be careful not to overdo this as well, okay? That's very important because you will be tempted to just go crazy with lots and lots and lots of red, okay? Just be careful not to overdo it, that's all. Put up a couple down here. And you see, the cadmium red will darken into the black slightly, so it will darken anyway to give the effect of it's down in the shadow. And I don't really need to do much more than that. You could, if you like, just clean your brush and take some crimson and pop some crimson in on some of them as well, just to give a little bit of a darkness to some of them. You see? Okay, a little bit of crimson. And pop a little bit of crimson around here. So, there we go. And again, I'm not going to go overboard with this. If you want to brighten some of them, make some of them slightly richer, just take cadmium red with some cadmium yellow. And that will give you a nice highlight colour for some of them. Just kind of pop it in here and there. Okay, now I'm going to leave it at that. And what I'm going to do with the same brush, I'm going to clean the brush and I'm going to, let me just zoom back slightly for you. I am going to, let me see now, pop some whites in. Some little daisies far off in the distance. Just give the impression of one or two little daisies dancing around up there. Okay, just like that. And then as we come down further, the daisies are becoming more prominent, aren't they? So for instance, let's pop a daisy in here. And look, I'm just keeping it nice and simple. Just white on its own. And we have a couple. That. It's a kind of nice clump of them together here, actually. Like that. We have a nice one. Daisies are, sorry, daisies are just a joy to paint. They really are, because you can put them at different types of angles. It's just so easy to paint daisies. It's really, really fun. So for instance, we have a big one here, okay? Let's put that in. So when the petals on a daisy are kind of foreshortened, you can see the backs of the daisy here, okay? But when it comes around to the front, it's just a little piece like that. So as if you're looking at the daisy slightly turned. Does that make sense? Some of them, look, will be kind of bent and broken, but just have a bit of fun. So that's a few nice daisies now so far, isn't it? And for the centres of these, let's just pop a little piece in the centre as we have these ones done, just so I can show you. I'll take some sienna with cadmium yellow. In fact, I might need to get some fresh cadmium yellow because my cadmium yellow has gone green on my palette. So I'll just take some fresh cadmium yellow down in the corner of my palette. And cadmium yellow, we start off, look with cadmium yellow, okay? Let's put cadmium yellow in the centres of these. All right. Just like that. Nice rich cadmium yellow on its own. And then give the brush a quick wipe, take some burnt sienna, and let's put a little burnt sienna around the ends of those, okay? Just like that. And what I'm going to do then is soften the burnt sienna up into that yellow, just very gently, look. So that it's not a solid mark, it's nice and soft. Okay, now does that make sense? And then to finish this off, let's give them a nice bright stalk, okay? A little bit of very, very bright green. And let's just pull a little stalk down like so. And there we are. Some nice daisies done already. Isn't that wonderful? So, should we try that again? Let's try it again. Let's go for some of these nice, these ones down here have a hint of pink in them, don't they? So let's take some titanium white and a tiny amount of crimson, okay? Tiny, tiny amount of crimson. So it's a nice bright pink, a whitey kind of a pink. And it's because they're kind of slightly in the shadows, and that also means that this kind of red colour is bouncing off of some of those flowers. Does that make sense? So it's not pure white, it's actually a very light pink. And let's just go like that. I'm doing lots of just thick paint on its own, okay? I might make it more pinky actually, because there's a couple of quite nice, really pinky daisies down there. They're actually white, but I think there's a reflection of a pink on them. I don't know what it's reflecting from, but it's like a tint of pink on the daisy. It's really, really gorgeous. And you can leave all of this dry first if you like, and then go and do the daisies. It's entirely up to yourself. I'm also cleaning my brush in between each one, just to keep the colour nice and kind of bright. And you're going to have a couple kind of hidden as well. You see, just like little bits of the leaves showing, or the petals. We have a nice one here, like that. Then, as it's foreshortened, you only see a little bit of the petal, you see? Like that. Okay, we can do a small one around here. You can put loads of these in if you like, okay? You can just go crazy with loads of them, or you can just put in, as I said, different colours. You know, it's entirely up to yourself. Just enjoy it, that's what I'll say, okay? Try to enjoy it. That's another nice one, I like that. I'll pop a little white on some of these, just because they're catching the light a little bit more than others. I'll pop a nice bright one down here. I'm just dipping my brush directly into the paint, alright? Now, I'll go and pop some, again, some bright yellow. I'll take a hint of cadmium red actually with some cadmium yellow. I'll make a very rich orangey kind of a yellow for these ones down here, okay? So that's one. And there's a lovely rich round one down here. Really stands out. I'll make it slightly more orangey. So much fun this. And I love painting scenes like this because you can really just enjoy it, see it coming together. It's just fantastic. I'll pop a little dab of that rich orange, just kind of here and there to simulate, to give the impression of little bits of flowers that are popping out from behind. You know, they're kind of hidden as well. Okay. Now I'm going to add some more stalks to some of these. Just keeping it simple. A little flick of the brush is really more than enough. Alright. Pop a few here and there. Now how much fun was this? And it didn't take me too long really, did it? What's my time? 28 minutes. It took 28 minutes to do all of this already. Isn't that just fabulous? You know, it's really so much fun. I'm going to darken some of those with some sienna and cadmium red. Just around one side, okay? Along the bottoms. And you could even give it impression of the texture, just give it a few little dabs, okay? And then I'm going to just take a little bit of black. Just to bring a bit of life into the flower, I'm going to take some very thin black paint, okay? And just go around the base with that. And soften it in. It just kind of brings some life into the flower, I think. Just a dark side down at the bottom. Okay, just like that. And then we can take some crisp white on the same brush and just highlight some of the petals again, just to make them look that little bit better, that more pronounced. And we can go and add a few more pops of them here and there. Like hidden in behind all that kind of greenery. Isn't that just lovely? I will just continue on now and put a handful more, maybe there's one actually up here which I forgot. Just give my brush a quick clean. put another one. I'm going to put another one here, because I think it's nice to have maybe one section with just a few of them, just to give it a nice kind of group. You know, that works really well, just to give a group in one place. And let's pop some yellow in here, and let's pop some yellow in here, a bit there, and I'll make this one a little bit bigger. I think this one really kind of shows out, and maybe this one as well. Okay. How much fun was this? Really, how much fun was this? I might add a couple, maybe up around here. Because I don't want this kind of, you know, I don't want the flowers to be separate. I don't want red and white. You know, I want them to kind of mingle together slightly. It'll help the composition, I think. There we go. Now, I might pop a little red, take a little red with a little white, okay? Just to get some pink. Maybe pop one or two pink ones in. I'm only just giving little dabs of colour, that's all. Little tiny dabs. And let me take a look now and see how we're getting on. This is coming on quite nicely, isn't it? I'm going to take some of the bright yellow and pop a little couple of squiggly bits of leaves and grass and all that kind of stuff. Just to mix it up a little bit, that's all. Before I go any further, I just want to pop a little burnt sienna up here. So kind of a bushy thing up here with some nice browns. Okay, and let me see now. It's not bad. I'm going to take a palette knife. Where is my palette knife? It's around here somewhere. I need a small palette knife. I'm going to put little tiny dabs of red, okay? I'll use this palette knife here, okay? But something smaller. Take some nice red and pop some nice rich dollops of red here and there. Only because the palette knife will give it a bit more prominency. It'll kind of stand out much more with the palette knife, okay? Just a little. And then I'm going to put my bird, because there's always a bird in every painting I do. Well, most paintings that I do, I have a nice little bird flying across the sky. Let me just zoom back there slightly for you and put a bird up here. Okay, how was that? And my friends, I think that is a wrap. I'm very happy with that. I might add a little darkness just around the bottom with a fan brush. So I'm going to take some black, some phthalo blue, and I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of darkness here and there, just towards the bottom, okay? Dab, 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 giving it a bit of a curve. So these could be kind of certain plants or leaves that are very, very black, okay? There. I think that's okay. That's fine. And I will leave it at that. My friends, thank you so much for watching. I'm very happy with this. I think this turned out really, really nice. Let me zoom back now, first of all, because I have a frame. I got a lovely frame. I made a frame for this, and I think the frame will finish the painting really nicely. Okay? Now, here's one I made earlier. Let me just stick it on there. It doesn't fit perfectly, but it'll give you an idea. of what it's going to look like in a frame. And there we are. Isn't that wonderful? A handmade frame. And let me zoom in and show you what we have created. Isn't this wonderful? Lovely sky, simple clouds, simple hills off in the distance. And that mist really adds to the depth of the painting, doesn't it? It really gives it a lot of depth. I'm kind of glad now that I decided to do the mist in the end. And nice simple trees, just very, very simple, okay? My apologies, I'm going a bit fast with the zoom on this thing. And coming down then into our lovely flower beds. I may add another hint of red perhaps, just to make the red pop slightly more. I'll do it now as I have it zoomed in for you. I think just a little touch extra of red will make all the difference. Let me get a round brush, okay? Let's take a dollop of red just like this, a nice thick dollop of red. And let's just make this one a little bit more prominent, okay? And perhaps pop an extra one or two bigger ones in up here. That's a bit better, isn't it? That little bit. And there we are, my friends. Nice simple daisies. You can take our time now with all of this and do it nice, you know, do take our time and really add in more daisies if you like. But I'm very happy with this. So there we are. Thank you so much for watching. Let me fix the colour on this. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please just ask. You can email me, stephenconway12@gmail.com. Please do subscribe, and happy painting. Thank you so much. Thank you to all my patrons as well. Thank you so much for your support. There's plenty of videos over on Patreon if you want to go and take a look and help support me at the same time. So thank you so much. I hope you like that. Give it a try. Do send them to me if you're painting them, because I'd love to see how you're getting on. I really would. And some of you are just absolutely brilliant. You're flying all together. Thank you so much. Happy painting, and I will see you next week. God bless.